My name is William John Cox, and this is my website. I've now lived for 77 years, and I've enjoyed my life to the fullest. This is my story. It's been a long and dusty road from the plow horses and dryland cotton farm in the Texas Panhandle, where the boy named Billy Jack was born in 1941. Living now as William John Cox in Southern California and communicating with a worldwide computerized society, my life has been challenging, interesting, and rewarding. My adventures have taken me around the world, and in my travels, I've always found that people are basically good. It's a universal human trait. All parents of every race and nationality want to enjoy the fruits of their labor and to make a better life for their children. Though I would not choose to walk any part of my journey all over again. I found most of it to be good, and the best was always possible. My adventures have carried risk, as I've had to confront the bad and sorting out and searching for the good. Right now, I'm mostly worried about the mess we're leaving for our children to clean up. There is no doubt, but there is great danger ahead. But I have an even greater faith in the shared wisdom of the American people to calmly exercise our personal rights of liberty as we peacefully confront whatever awaits us just over the next hill and beyond the horizon. I shall always believe in us, and I trust that we can work things out together. Equal in the freedoms we claim and the rights of liberty we proclaim, we are the people. This is not a reality show, folks. This is reality. Americans are living under a cruel and corrupt government in a declining economy and deteriorating environment under a government that denies and hides these problems. The government no longer represents the American people. It is trampling on their freedoms, our freedoms, and it is endangering our security. Irrespective of which political party is in office, the government is controlled by powerful corporations, special interests, and the wealthy elite. It does not matter who or which party one votes for, the result will be the same. There is no federal constitutional right to vote, as elections have been largely left up to the state to conduct, and now with corporate sponsorship. The American Dream and the Voters' Bill of Rights. Even though they are burdened by a $1.5 trillion in student loan debts, the current generation of young Americans access the greatest store of knowledge ever accumulated by humanity, and they quickly share what they learn with each other in every language and around the world. Young people have the commitment and organizational skills to lead a massive, nonpartisan, netroots movement to mobilize the American people and to transform our government. American women are achieving their political destiny with this generation, and they are now realizing their full potential. They have the collaborative ability to maintain peace within the movement and to achieve a government that cares for those who elect it. Written in the basic language of the founding documents, The Voters' Bill of Rights honors all voters by providing a constitutional right to vote. It ensures equal rights to women, and it makes all votes count equally. The Voters' Bill of Rights demands truth from the government. It educates voters and future leaders. It allows the people to make policy, and it forces our representatives to keep their promises. And as an added benefit, it provides a paid holiday for all workers who vote in the federal elections. The rights of liberty and the consent to be governed. Individuals give expression to their rights of liberty when they grant their consent to be governed, and that is what provides the power to operate the people's government. The people always retain the rights of liberty, and they can withdraw their consent to be governed when their government becomes unrepresentative. The collective, residual, and undelegated power of the people remains with them and their local councils and their states of residency. If we look at it from the people's point of view, the American people are resident within 50 states united of America, which has the inherent power to dissolve a United States government that has grown dangerously out of control. Once a corrupt, ineffective, unrepresentative, and threatening government fails to take action to restore dignity to the government and to earn public support, the people have a 9th and 10th Amendment right to withdraw their consent to be governed and to declare their personal independence. A declaration of personal independence serves as a petition against the government for a redress of individual grievances. A national referendum on the Voters' Bill of Rights, held in conjunction with the 2018 federal election in November, would be restorative and transformative of the people's government. As a symbol of a free people residing within their states united of America, a gold stripe lovingly added to their American flag would clearly demonstrate that it represents all Americans. A declaration of personal rights of liberty and withdrawal of consent to be governed. Back in 1979, on July the 9th, I filed a class action lawsuit directly in the United States Supreme Court on behalf of all U.S. citizens. In my petition, I alleged back then that there is a widely held belief, shared by many, that the Congress of the United States is in the grips of special interest groups and is no longer responsive to the needs of individual citizens. I ask, is it not time to allow the people a voice in the future of their nation and in the quality of life preserved for their children? Is it not true that the election of representatives is now more dependent upon the massive expenditure of contributions from special interest groups than upon a vote by an informed electorate? Without comment, the Supreme Court denied my petition for a writ of mandate, in which I asked that it require there to be a national policy referendum as a remedy. In the last 39 years, nothing has changed politically. In fact, things have gotten worse. And today, the American people are suffering under a government that no longer represents them in their interest. I am compelled once again to try to do something to force a change. On February the 28th, 2018, 2 months ago, I filed another pleading directly in the U.S. Supreme Court. In it, I declared our personal rights of liberty against a government that has become corrupt, ineffective, unrepresentative, and threatening. I formally withdrew my consent to be governed unless we are allowed to vote on the Voters' Bill of Rights during the November election. The court clerk would not allow my pleading to be filed because it failed to conform to the court's requirements. I made the required changes, and I resubmitted it to the analyst at the clerk's office for review. I was advised that even though the pleading has now conformed to the court's requirement, it could not be filed because, as a matter of policy, the court does not allow any original jurisdiction matter to be filed by an individual. So, last Monday, on April the 9th, 2018, I sent a personal letter to each of the 9 justices of the Supreme Court, and I attached a copy of the revised pleading to it, and I did so as a First Amendment petition for a redress of grievances. The petition concluded with these words: "The petitioner calls upon the assistance of this honorable court in this effort to diffuse and resolve a dire threat to the survival of the United States of America." I said, "The thoughtful exercise of discretion by each individual justice in deciding this matter is crucial, as not since Dred Scott, the slave, appeared before this court has it faced such a moral and critical question. Are we a free people or not?" The petition is available on the website. You could click on it and download it and read it for free. It will be interesting to see if there is any response. I did, in my letter, in my transmittal letter, did say that I would be very pleased to properly file the petition should I receive any encouragement at all. Next on the website are 3 libraries. The first library we call a lending library. It features the Voters' Bill of Rights, Transforming America, on the home page, which provides for a free download, or you can get a hard copy book from Amazon. If you visit the library, all of my books are available there, except for a couple. Because of restrictions from the publisher, I'm not able to allow them to be downloaded for free, but all of my other books, including brochures regarding the Voters' Rights Amendment and a vision of how the country could be in the future, are available in the lending library for free downloads, and for most of them you can download the book itself if you prefer to read a book from Amazon. The video library on the cover features a Declaration of Personal Rights of Liberty video that is currently running virtually full-time. We're allowing this to run on Facebook. It's a short little video regarding a Declaration of the Personal Rights of Liberty. If you click into the video library, what you will see there is a slideshow, in a way, of an original video that I filmed back in the 70s. It runs at the top of the page, but also arranged there are links to all of the videos that we have been producing as Facebook ads and Instagram ads. The article library, in bringing over, I'm not sure how many, certainly more than 100 articles over the past from the old website, we were able to bring them in And if you click on the button for the article library, it will take you to all of those articles. Unfortunately, in transferring them to the new website, some of the formatting was stripped out, which makes it a little difficult to read, but they are all available there, and it is a searchable database. On the cover, on the main page, are two articles that are featured here. The first, Despairing of Gun Violence, I actually wrote several years ago, and I have updated it and placed it on this page. And on Monday, I mailed 30 letters, envelopes, to 30 of the students in Florida, in Parkland, Florida, that have been active leaders in the March for Our Lives movement against gun violence. The article provides a good background, a historical background of the Second Amendment, a discussion of gun violence, and it also offers an idea, and that is the Second Amendment, certainly there's no necessity to actually withdraw the Second Amendment. What needs to be done is that it has to be structured with a meaning that conforms to its original intent, and that is the Second Amendment was meant to protect us. And if it acts in a way that no longer protects us and in fact is destructive of our being, then we need to take a look at it and think about it. And one of the things that I have suggested as an idea to demonstrate against violence, against the weapons of violence, is that all across America, constructing peace sculptures in front of every school, every courthouse, every police station, in which we combine these weapons of violence into magnificent sculptures to the future. And in the future, as rust runs down the sidewalk instead of blood, these demonstrate, that once upon a time we actually armed ourselves with these violent devices to kill each other. And we have voluntarily given up them and provided the materials to construct these peace sculptures. But what I ask, let me bring up my letter here that I sent to these young people. One of the things I said certainly is that I admire their courage and their efforts to prevent gun violence in the future. But I said, gun violence is but one symptom of the significant political, economic, environmental, and militarization issues that currently plague the American people. Even if your initiative is entirely successful, other critical issues will not be resolved. For that reason, I write to acquaint you with the U.S. Voters' Rights Amendment. Unless you and others of your generation achieve effective voting rights, you will never solve the overwhelming problems you are inheriting and which threaten your future. I suggest that they combine their efforts with the Women's March movement, and I have been in communication with the Women's March leadership, and because they are both emphasizing voter registration and voting as a common purpose, allowing each of them to achieve their goals. The Voters' Rights Amendment, the Voters' Bill of Rights, would be beneficial in achieving their goals. The other article that I feature on the article page is an article that I have worked on over the years and most recently republished because it involves the situation in North Korea. And the title of the article is Avoiding Another War in North Korea. I write here, during the Korean War, the United States dropped more bombs and napalm on North Korea than was used against the Japanese during World War II. The carpet bombing destroyed all of the cities and most of the villages in North Korea. More than 3 million Korean civilians died in the war, and most were in the north. Since the war ended with a ceasefire in 1953, the North has been governed by the Kim family dictatorship, which uses the threat of American aggression to maintain its iron-fisted physical and mind control of the North Korean people. President Trump is now threatening another destructive war against the North Korean people and their society. He must not be allowed to do this. There is another way to deal with these kinds of problems. As a matter of policy, the president can redirect his energy and efforts onto the person of Kim Jong-un himself, the country's dictator, who not only represents the safety of threatens the safety of other nations, but who holds his own people in slavery. Why should the United States make war against a captive nation and its helpless people when there is a more effective solution? As we were completing the website, we added a section at the bottom which we call The Adventures of Billy Jack. And what this section represents is a collection of resources, videos, that demonstrate some of the activities that I have engaged in the past. As an overview, there is a link here to the Wikipedia article that provides the overview story along with the references for that story. The next section of The Adventures of Billy Jack is the rehabilitation of Daphne Dangerfield, a self-portrait of life in the spring of 1977. And what this is a video, but it is of a film that was shot with Super 8 back in 1977 about a dog that loves the beach, but unfortunately it's a violation of the law, and there's a chase scene, the dog gets arrested, she is brought before the court, and justice is rendered. And it's about a 22-minute video. It has more than 200 cuts in it, shot as Super 8 and transferred onto video, but it's a happy story with a happy ending. The next video is The Skinny House, the 10-foot wide house where I practiced law in the late 70s and early 80s. It's featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not and in the Guinness Book of World Records. The video that I have prepared there it's a video slideshow, actually a photograph showing the exterior and the interior of Skinny House as it was when I practiced law there back at that time. It has a jazz soundtrack. The next offering of The Adventures of Billy Jack is the movie Never Forget, the movie that was made about the Holocaust case in 1981. And it is the movie that was subsequently made by Leonard Nimoy, starring Leonard Nimoy as well. He played my client, Mel Mermelstein, and the actor Dabney Coleman played me. This is a condensed version because what I did is that, Hollywood adds things to the real life story to make it more interesting, but does not necessarily represent reality. What this condensed version is a condensation to the very truthful parts of the movie. Now, this includes portions of the depositions that were taken during that movie, but also the final arguments that were made in the Superior Court in Los Angeles at that time are from the transcripts. In other words, the transcript of the actual arguments that were made at that time in which I was seeking to get the court to take judicial notice of the fact that the Holocaust occurred. is true to life, and you can see those arguments if you care to take a look at the movie. Next is a virtual tour of my study. This study that I work in, it's called a self-portrait in the spring of 2018. So as you look around my study, you can see the books that I have read, the artifacts that I have collected that are around me and on the walls. But I have dedicated this movie to my mother, Minnie Irene Cox. There is a photograph of our family here on the page in the next section that shows her holding me as a baby, along with my 7 brothers and sisters and my mother and my father at the time. I dedicate this to her because she died when I was 4, almost 5, and that was a day that transformed my life, and I became aware of my circumstances and have been thinking about my life and what it all means ever since that day. I continue to burn a candle to her memory every day. And the film has a soundtrack, and I'm sure that I won't pronounce her name correctly, but her name is Björk. She is the young dynamic singer from Iceland, and this is her song, Declare Your Independence, which I love, and I enjoy watching this because of the soundtrack. And if she happens to see this, I hope that she and her producers will be generous enough to give me permission to use the soundtrack, which I have heretofore not asked for, but trusted. And by the way, I mentioned now, if you look at the rehabilitation of Daphne Dangerfield, what you will find after the introductory narrative, it goes silent, and that is because YouTube took out all of the songs, the Beach Boys songs, the John Prine songs, the Eagles song, Desperado. All of that music was unfortunately taken out of the rehabilitation of Daphne Dangerfield. Otherwise, I would not be able to post it on YouTube. But I'm hoping that my virtual tour of my office will survive. Finally, there is a brief history of the Cox Oswalt family presented here. It's a history that I wrote several years ago for a family reunion. I believe it is a true story, and it's there for anyone who cares to watch it. The website concludes with 3 logos. They are the logos of the other 3 websites that we have put together in support of the U.S. Voters' Rights Amendment, which is the USVRA.us website, the Youth for the Voters' Rights Amendment website, which is y4vra.org, and finally, just in the last few days, we have completed the last of the 4 websites that comprise the full work here, and that is the website for the book of Mindkind, the small book that I've written regarding a philosophy for the new millennium. Each of these 3 links will connect with those, and what I can do is I can show you easily here. This is the USVRA website, and as you can see, the slideshow primarily involves women because the website is oriented toward women, and these are all photographs. And all of these websites are all of my own photographs that I have taken. And the Y4VRA website is a similar website, but it is oriented toward young people, and the images are there. Many of these images are very recent because I filmed at the Women's March in Los Angeles, where 600,000 women gathered in downtown Los Angeles just recently to demonstrate for their rights. And then more recently, just 2 weeks ago, I filmed at the March for Our Lives event in Long Beach, where there were thousands of young people and their parents and other supporters who gathered to demonstrate against gun violence. The final website that we have is the Book of Mindkind website, and that is located here.